Hello everybody, my name is William. I'm from the northwest of Ireland, a place called County Roscommon. I'm a member of Lougheed Triathlete Club. I love all things swimming, cycling, running, even a bit of hiking. The Cape Town Ironman, actually the name of the channel. Cape Town is where I'm from. There's a small lake in North Roscommon called Cape Town. I happened to do an Ironman there last year as my race was cancelled. But you'll hear more about that later on in the video and in future videos. So that's where the name came from. I've just set up this channel because I want to take footage of cycling and running, training, and what races I do and where I train and what equipment I use. And so I'm a very average age group athlete. And you might be wondering why I'm sitting in a cab of a lorry. This is just my day job. I work full time, I have a family, and sports is just my hobby and my passion. So this video is just going to be about my history in sport. So as you see, I'm just at my day job, driving, Monday to Friday job. But I just want to do a quick video on my history in sport. Now, I was never that sporty of a child. I used to do uni games at school and some athletics, like. So I used to be good enough at the 1500 meters and power walk and stuff in community games. And when I was a teenager, I did a lot of fun runs and 5Ks and 10Ks and stuff like that, road running. Never super at it, but I used to love doing it. But I probably got into sport then when I was 21, 2009 I think it was. I started rowing. I rowed for 3 years. The first year without much success. Rowed as a novice and in a quad and a single scull. And the second year rowed a novice quad. And we did very well all year. We were unbeaten all year and came second in the national championships. And I rode for a third year in a 4. No major results. It just didn't click as good as the quad. 4 is technically hard enough boat to row, and we just didn't get on as well as we did in the quad. So I gave up rowing then at the end of 2011 and decided I'd buy a bike and just do a bit of cycling for leisure. I didn't want to do any more sport competitively. So bought the bike in May 2012, second-hand Specialized Allays, entry-level enough road bike, aluminium frame, and joined a local cycling club and cycled a few times with them. I was getting on grand and did a couple of cycle tours. They're just tours, did a couple of 100k tours. They're not competitive. You just get out and do them, and you get the sandwiches and at the end, and very social. And I was happy enough. A friend of mine was into triathlon. He'd done one of the tours with me and talked me into doing a triathlon in Athlone. So I said, right, I'll try it. I said, I can't swim, but he said, don't worry about that. He said, it's a 200 meter swim with the flow. If you can keep your head above water, you'll make it down. So I done that. I breaststroked or doggy paddled and kept my head up and made it down. And that was it. Done that race. Forget how I did it. I forget what time I got ranked, but I was hooked. Then I booked a sprint triathlon in Swinford. And by this stage I must have been joining the Lougheed Club, and I was starting to buy some gear, bought a tri-suit, and done the sprint in Swinford, and again absolutely hooked. I'd done a lot of practice on my swimming between the two races. Paul helped me out in my local lake, Cape Town. It kind of clicked. I could front crawl. I was breathing every time on the one side, but that didn't matter. All I cared about is I could swim the course and do my triathlon. That's all I cared about. So my swimming came along enough for me to do the sprint. That went so well. I actually booked a half Iron distance race, a half Ironman. It was an official half Ironman in Galway that in 2012. So I had a quick transition from a triathlete to a half Ironman. I done that in September. So my swimming, I managed a 1.9 kilometer swim and 90k bike and 21k run. I done that half Ironman in a time of 5:47, which was, looking back, was amazing for me. First year in it, first year in triathlon to do that. But I was hooked. I think I finished up that year with doing the Lockheed Roan sprint triathlon. And the minute the sprint was over, I remember I decided no, I was going to need a better bike. I was going to buy a carbon frame road bike. I was going to buy an AR4 and put tri-bars on it. And I rang up Chain Driven Cycles, I think that the week after our own sprint triathlon. I was telling Stephen the crack, and he sold AR4s at the time, I think, or felt bikes. But he said, no, you don't need, you don't want one of them. You want a triathlon bike. And I was thinking to myself, sure, maybe I do. And I went down. He said, come down here. I have a B6 thing down here. Come down and have a look at it. And I went down, and long story short, I bought the bike, carbon frame B6 thing, Ultegra gear spec on at the time, 10 speed. Bought the bike, and I ended up having a very busy 2013. I started off the year. I booked a full Ironman distance race. It was called the Shadowman in Athlone. I booked that during that winter, the 2011 or spring 2012 winter. And I booked that. That race was to be in August 2013. But in the lead up to that race, I started off the year with duathlons. I done a sprint triathlon in Kong in May. I done Port Runny in June, another sprint. I done a Thai double Olympic. I also done a half Ironman in Swinford. That must have been July. I actually done very good in that. I did a time of 5:36, so I'm delighted with that. And I completed my first Ironman distance race. It was the Shadowman. I done that in a time of 11 hours and 56 minutes. So I had a very busy year. Yeah, so that was my 2013 season, a very busy year. And unfortunately, that was actually to be the end of my triathlon adventures for maybe I done an Olympic the year after, but I didn't get much time to train, and it went very badly. And a long story short, I did very little after 2013 for about 5 years. I got a different job, and I started working nights, weekends, and I had no time and no energy to train anyway, because the hours were massive and working nights. And kids came along, the best thing that ever happened to me, my two boys, and married my beautiful wife Jennifer in that time period as well. But yeah, another long story short is I got a better job at the end of 2016 and started making more time for myself, and I started making my comeback into the sport in 2018. Started cycling again and running. It was to be a long road back because I put on a lot of weight over them years and got very unfit. But yeah, so I started 2019 was going to be my first proper full season back. But I came back like a man on a mission. All I wanted to do was lose weight and get back to where I was. Now, I don't know if I ever believed I'd get back to where I was, but I worked damn hard. So 2019 I worked very, very hard. Now I knew it was going to be a long road back, so I didn't rush it. I done a lot of slow, long training. I was suffering to do a 10k that time, but I stuck with it. I done a few races. I'd actually done Sheephaven half Ironman that year, 6.5 hours, but it's a tough hilly course, and I wasn't the man I was 8 years ago. But I was very happy I was back. I managed to pull off a half Ironman, and I managed to do a marathon at the end of that year. And the most amazing part of this story is Jen trained for Dublin Marathon the same year. We both trained together, and we both ran it together, side by side, and one of the proudest moments of my life. I have memories from that day I'll never forget, and I hope to run another marathon with Jen yet. So we ran that together in a time of 4.5 hours, and it was super. And super time too, considering like we put in a lot of work that year, the two of us, and we were delighted with that. So that brings me on to 2020. Again, during that winter I booked an Ironman for 2020. It was an official Ironman in Cork. I wanted to get an official full distance Ironman out of my system. But that wasn't to be. As everyone knows, COVID came along in early 2020 and that put a halt to that. But I trained very hard that winter, and I trained very hard the spring 2020. But I sort of fell off the rails a wee bit when COVID came along, and I stopped sort of training, and not to the same extent anyway. But looking back, I wouldn't have been ready for Cork in 2020. I wasn't ready. But I think, I don't want to talk too much about COVID, but because we all know the crack with COVID. But I think mentally, COVID has helped me mentally, and I got myself back on track at the end, training wise, at the end of 2020, and I put in a serious winter. I put in more hours than I ever did in my life. I trained every Saturday morning, long cycles on the bike. I was training 6 days a week, all winter long. Long Saturdays on the bike, long run Sunday. Monday I was cycling 3 or 4 days a week, and I was running 2 or 3 days, and I was taking it. I put in a serious winter. Now there was no swimming involved because the pools are shut. And around Christmas time, a friend of mine named Cox decided he was going to do 12 marathons, 12 days for charity, and he done very well. He pulled off 12 serious marathons and raised 35,000 for Northwest Stop. Absolute fair dues to him. But this added into my story a wee bit, because I ran 3 marathons that Christmas, inspired by Liam, and around Christmas time I was thinking, I don't see Cork happen in 2021. Will I keep training or not? But then Liam came along and done his 12 marathons, and that was it. It just clicked. It was like a light switch. The idea just clicked in my head, and I said, there's no reason it can't happen. I'll do an Ironman this year regardless if Cork happens or not. I said, if Liam can pull off 12 marathons regardless, I'm going to pull off an Ironman regardless. So that was it. The idea was planted. I kept training like a crazy person all spring long. I was lucky enough to have Gene Woods, my neighbour and fellow clubmate, to cycle with me every Saturday morning, and most Saturday mornings on my long cycles. That really helps, because if the wind and rain is battering on the window and temperatures are cold, you're going to get up out of bed when you know there's someone going to be waiting at the gate for you. So as it turns out, 2021 was going to be one of the best years of my life in sport. It was going to be one of the worst years of my life in other aspects, but we won't go into that. But sports wise, yeah, I set a date for July, 4th of July for my Ironman, and I was going to do it around Caveton where I live. And the reason I chose July over August was because there was always a chance that Cork might actually happen. So I came up with the Caveton date a month beforehand, just in case Cork had happened, and I'd be able to pull myself together and maybe do the second one. But now, as it turns out, Cork never wasn't to be, and that didn't happen. And Caveton happened, and it was one of the most amazing stories of my life. I managed to raise €17,000 for Northwest Hospice, and so many people turned up on the day. And I had a clubmate that swam with me, Mark Kelly, swam the full distance with me. I had people that cycled with me, and I had so many people that ran with me during the marathon. I pulled it off in a time of 12 hours and 28 minutes. A little bit slower than I thought, but it didn't matter. Sure, it was a great experience, and I pulled it off, and I caved to an Ironman. So I actually, in the lead up to that, I changed my Instagram name to Caveton Ironman, and I think I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to change it. Yeah, it's been a great comeback. Then, like, I'm 3 years back now, and when I came, my first year back was 2019, and all I cared about was coming back, getting back. And then 2020, all I cared about was the lead up to Cork, and that wasn't to be. And then 2021 was all about Caveton. And now we're into 2022. I'm still in for Cork. Cork is meant to happen this August, 2022. And now I'm training for it. I don't really care if it happens or not, to be honest. Like, if I could turn back the clock, I probably wouldn't have booked it, because an official Ironman is big money. And probably wouldn't have booked it. I want to get the official Ironman out of my system. Now it means nothing to me. Running around Caveton doing an Ironman is means probably more to me. It does mean more to me. But anyway, yeah, I'm training for Cork. I don't really care if it happens or not. If it doesn't happen, there's a few of us in the club entered for it. We're going to do our own one, so it's going to happen anyway. So our own version anyway. So I don't care. Big races don't mean nothing to me anymore. Me trying to get back to where I was doesn't mean a whole lot to me anymore either. I'm so grateful to be where I am, doing what I'm doing now, and I mightn't be as fast next year. I might be faster. I don't know, but I know one thing: I'm going to be damn grateful for what I can do on that day, because that's all I care about now. Is I don't care about getting super fast. I'm going to try and get as fast as I can, but if it's not to be, it's not to be. I'm so grateful that I can get out and do it now. There's so many people that can't go out and do it. I love cycling, I love running, but my whole mindset has changed over the last 3 years. All I think about now is getting out doing it. I love the training. Like, I love the process of getting to the of getting there. Roll the clock back 9 years, 10 years ago. I trained because I wanted to race, and I got buzzed out of racing. I didn't actually enjoy the training. Now, it's the training that's the part I enjoy. The races are a bonus. Like, I don't need anyone to motivate me to get out the door to run or cycle. Like, you shouldn't need motivation to go out and do something you love. And if you don't love it, maybe you're doing the wrong sport. Like, I love getting out on a Saturday morning cycling and running. If there was never any races, I don't think it would really matter. I get a buzz out of going out training and running. I like being as fast as I can be, but I don't get hung up on what I can't do or what I could do. I don't care. Like, maybe I was faster 10 years ago, I don't care. But that's the secret. Just enjoy what you can do today, and don't take any day for granted. I know I don't. Speaking of beautiful days, no, I'm working today. I'm stuck in a lorry, but I'd rather be on a bike or running up a mountain or being on the trails, etc. But it's a beautiful day today. I'm sure I'm happy sitting here as well. The sun is low in the sky, and there's frost, and everything looks stunning. But that's enough waffle out of me and my journey in sport. This isn't the end, it's only the beginning as far as I can see it. So that's it. Thanks for listening if you stayed this long.